So now that we've looked at a little bit of the background about slope and where it comes from, let's put it all together so that we can understand exactly what slope is. We've just defined that slope is the ratio of rise to run of a line. So we're going to write the ratio as a fraction. So slope is rise to run. But there are many different ways to describe the rise and the run. The rise is how far up we're going to go. If you rise up out of your seat, you are going up. So the rise is the vertical change. And if you think about running, you're thinking about the distance you're going. So it's kind of along the horizon. So the run is the horizontal change. Now, there are other ways for us to describe the vertical and the horizontal change. In math, to describe a change, we use the Greek letter delta, which happens to look like a small triangle. So it's really the change in the vertical over the change in the horizontal. Now, if we think about a graph, so I'll just draw it here. If we think about a graph, the horizontal is the x-axis, the left to right. So the horizontal change could really be the change in x, which we would say delta x, and the y is the vertical. So it could also be written as delta y over delta x, or the change in y over the change in x, which is something that we've talked about many times before. Okay? And we want to make sure that we leave some space blank here, because eventually we're going to be coming back to fill in, well, how can I find the change in y, and how do I find the change in x? Now, a lot of times we only think about slope as being positive, but there are really 4 different types of slope that we're going to talk about. And we're going to put these on our graphic organizer. We're going to leave this top row right here blank because we're going to put in a key word in a little bit from a video that we're going to watch. So right now, we just want to go ahead and write what these things mean. And let's start with the easiest one. The easiest one is positive. And we know that positive is kind of uphill. So the way we're going to describe positive is an upward diagonal line from left to right. We always read like a book, from left to right. Okay? And we have some space to put examples. If you need more space, use the space at the bottom. Okay? We're used to graphs that are strictly in the first quadrant. So a positive slope might look like this. Notice that it doesn't have to be proportional. However, we can also have situations where a positive slope is in all 4 quadrants. So it might look something like this. I would walk up that hill from left to right. That's our first type of slope. Let's move over to negative slope, and negative slope is the exact opposite of positive slope. Instead of going upward, we're going to go downward. So this is a downward diagonal line, again, from left to right, just like a book. Okay? So again, we could have this graph in strictly 1 quadrant, which might look like this. Okay? We could also have it in all 4 quadrants, which might look something like this. Okay? Those are the 2 most simple types of slope to talk about. Okay? But however, there are some other types of slope. We've talked about diagonal lines. Now let's talk a little bit about the other types of lines which we can have, which are horizontal and vertical lines. Okay? If you think of a horizontal line, okay, I'm going to draw one down here at the bottom. I'm going to draw this horizontal line. And I'm going to go ahead and label some points on my horizontal line. I'm going to label the point 1, 2, and let's make this 4, 2. Now I'm just going to think through this a little bit. My definition is rise over run, or how much the y changes over how much the x changes. So if I could say that how much the y changes over how much the x changes. In this case, the y doesn't change. It always stays the same. It's 2 here and it's 2 here. So I would say the y doesn't change at all, whereas the x goes from 1 to 4. So it's going to increase by 3. I think I can simplify that. 0 over 3 is simply 0. So this is going to be a line that has 0 slope, or a slope of 0 might be the better way to put it. So 0 slope is simply going to be a horizontal line. 0 slope is a horizontal line. Again, I could have multiple different ways to represent this. In one quadrant, it might look something like that. In another or in all 4 quadrants, I could also have it in the negative side. And a little bit later on, we'll be taking a look at, what does the equation of that line really look like? All right, now we only have one type left, and you can probably guess what this is. The only other type of line we have really to talk about is a vertical line. So let's go ahead and think about and see if a vertical line would work. I'm going to go ahead and draw an example again. Here's my axis. Here's my vertical line, and again I'm going to put 2 points on here. Let's call this 3, 1, and 3, 5. Again, I can analyze this. Slope, we determined, is the change in the y values over the change in the x values. So if I look at my y values, I'm going from 1 to 5. I know that is an increase of 4. If I look at my x values, I'm going from 3 to 3. So my x values didn't change. That's a change of 0. Now, if you are doing this and you're saying, but wait, Mr. Barge, 4 divided by 0 is 0. We already have 0 slope. Stop. Think about this again. 4 divided by 0. This is one of the biggest mistakes that we make in math. 4 divided by 0 is 4 things split into 0 groups. I can't do it. If you put 4 divided by 0 in your calculator, you're going to get an error. In math, we call this undefined because I can't have an answer for it. So this is, in fact, undefined slope. An undefined slope is simply a vertical line. Okay? So, once again, 2 pictures that I can put in here. I could have a straight up and down line in one quadrant, or oops, sorry about that. I could have a straight up and down line in all 4 quadrants. Here it is. Okay. So if somebody asks you to describe the slope of a line, we would be looking for, is it positive? Is it negative? Is it 0? Is it undefined? One of the things we're going to be continuing to look at is, what is the slope of the line? So these are very different questions. This is what does it look like means, can you describe the slope of the line? Okay. Describing it, 0, positive, negative, 0. Telling us what it is a number, and that will come later. Once again, you should have left this row blank. We're going to fill that in with another video that'll help us remember 0, positive, negative, and undefined in just a little bit.